Hello, boys, babes, and all of you beings in between. What is up, and welcome back to yet another episode of All the Blocks. This is yet another wonderful episode brought to you by the simple rules that I have established early on in this process that only I choose to uphold because I want to. The rules of this series is that I am given a random block palette from my community, be it in the comments or in my Discord or just messaging my friends, and in that process I take that block palette, which is 3 to 5 blocks, one of which must be able to be craftable into stairs or slabs. This is a new add-on to this. Blocks meaning not like mob blocks, because someone offered me the dried ghast. I'm looking at you, Fat Boy Fitz, but you did give me a good block palette otherwise. Now, within variants of those blocks, we are considering the rules of, if you give me stone, I can use stone stairs and slabs, but not stone brick. But if you give me stone brick, I can use stone brick stairs and slabs, but not stone. If that is clear, let me share with you the block palette that our lovely longtime community member Fat Boy Fitz gave me, which was cracked stone brick, gilded black stone, and crimson stem. Mind you, Fitz has given me a block palette in the previous past, which was once again also a very odd and interesting block, and ended up with a very similar energy in its build as this current build has landed in. So without much further ado, I offer you that block palette. Now, one of the things that I was looking at when I stumbled upon this lovely palette from him is that I was sitting there looking at it and I went, this gives me a corrupted magic feeling. Now, the last build he gave me was a very similar energy because he specifically gave me birch wood, meaning the four-sided log. So because of that specification, I chose to not use the planks as much as I could, and it ended up with a very corrupted magic style. Now, when thinking about this, I was like, okay, what environment does that really fit into? Because last time I put that back up in like a snowy peaks biome, looked super great where it was. But what new biome was given to us that looks good for a corrupted style build? And all I could think of was the pale oak forest. Now, unfortunately, due to the fact that this world I'm using, which if you look in the background of these videos, you can see pieces of other old buildings from my earlier parts in the series out there. But due to just how old this world file is, the generation for newer biomes is way, way far out and or just non-existent. And in the process of trying to find a pale oak biome to build this in, I couldn't. So I may or may not have used some witchcraft and wizardry and have turned a dark oak forest into a pale oak biome via Magics of World Edit, and have customly designed this pale oak biome to make something fit, because I wanted the energy and the overcast sky and all of that comes with pale oak biome to give it this washed out, dried out, energy zapped from biome. Now, that came with its ups and downs, and if you're not aware, you can actually change biomes using World Edit. In addition to a bunch of other tools, if you're not aware, I prefer World Edit just because it's the one I'm most comfortable with. But I was like, this is how we're gonna do this. When thinking of this build, I was like, okay, what's next? Here's how we're gonna do this. Now, cracked stone brick. There's no variance of that. I'm a little peeved at that one. Shout out again, Fitz, you evil man coming up with this block palette. But I was like, okay, let's just do this. What does cracked stone brick go with? Deserted falling apart castle. Got it. What does gilded black stone go with? That really doesn't go with deserted, corrupted, falling apart castle, does it? Not really. What if the magic's eating it? Okay, I'm getting somewhere. And the first thing I then think of when looking at the gilded black stone and the crimson was, this looks like the color palette that you can identify specifically in the Breath of the Wild corruption that is occurring on the main castle of that world. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And if you've never played that game, very beautiful graphics. A lot of the design in it is absolutely gorgeous. But it just kept making me think of and kept making me circle back to the designs of like the temples in that world and the magic and corruption that comes with the Ganon corruption that is on the castle. I was like, okay, that's super interesting. Let's see what I can play with this. And so I was like, I gotta do a castle tower. This is much bigger than my typical build. Once again, if you're looking out in the background, you occasionally will see a Victorian house and then like a solar punk, steampunk style, like hot air balloon house floating back there. And this build ended up being so much bigger than my usual builds. Like, height-wise, it is taller than the one we built last week. Additionally, it's almost comparable to the episode 10 build in terms of height, which was that massive clock tower I designed with the XP crafted block palette I was given. But it just ended up being so big. And so I feel like as I've gone on through the series, I've strayed away from some of my initial intention with this, which was to build builds that are small enough and creative enough with really unique blocks that anyone can do it and take it on. Don't get me wrong, this isn't like obnoxiously big. This is not some mega build, but it really bothered me just by how big this was getting. But mind you, I am going to continue with this build, obviously, because look, there it is. Was then like, okay, so here's how I work with this. Now, circling back to what the inspiration was, we ended up with these. Concept I came up with was using the crimson wood tendrils and making it look like the gilded blackstone sections are like a magical fungus that is dissolving the stone, and it is breaking off and turning into this flaky, flimsy, tendrily smoke magic that is floating off whatever it has eaten. Now, how fast this is happening, I'm not sure. I like the idea of this is happening fairly quickly, like this corruption is just gently showing up and dissolving it the way that like a cotton candy dissolves in water. Which, a weird thing, I know. A little odd in its preference and design, but I think it's fun. But it opens up a variety of just like, how's this working? Now, mind you, I made the horrid mistake, I emphasize, of deciding, yeah, we'll incorporate signs into this. Don't build with signs. Don't build with signs. I say this with the most love in my heart. Don't build with signs. They look great, but the minute you're trying to place them on a floating trapdoor in the middle of the air, even in creative mode, it's a bloody nightmare. They look great. They do wonder. Shout out to people who build them all the time in their designs. Placing them floating in the air on trapdoors, not worth it. I had so much fun building this until I then had to recreate it outside of creative after I had spent close to 4.5 hours designing and getting the flow of these tendrils right. It was a nightmare. And rebuilding this, even with schematics, even with the easy place toggle from Lightmatica, this still took 45 minutes. This took 45 minutes, and this is sped up quite a bit. Because I sped it up both in my flashback mod, and I sped it up in editing as you are seeing this now. Like, these have been rapidly sped up. This took a lot longer than necessary, but I included buttons, I included trapdoors. I was taking full advantage of the fact that I was given a wood product. I was specifically given the log, not the wood that makes it four-sided. So I was like, screw this, it's fine. Which then, in theory, then competed into and agreed to the agreement of there's a block that can be a stair or slab. Great challenge, yes. But I had a lot of fun with this, and the concept of it washing away, blowing away, whatever this is as it's dissolving into the air was super fun, and I would love to have an entire castle that's succumbing to the same effect. However, I do recognize that would take me months to do. But this did ignite a piece of me that's like, why haven't I built castles more lately? So let's go make some more touch-ups. Alrighty, so with that lovely amount of collection and etc., this is the thing we came up with. It is overall quite complicated, but also not. As you can see, usually at this point I would go be like, okay, how do I add to the environment? How do I make this feel like it belongs more? But the thing was, I already went and essentially recreated an entire new biome just for this. So the concept I had is I want to incorporate this broken portal and figure out how it is infecting or something is going on with it that is causing the magic to be related to it. It is related to in that sort. Now, previously stated once again, usually at this point I'd be adding on like a garden or something like that, but it just does not work for this to be feeding into its environment in such a way. So one of the things that I, like, obviously I'm still going to fix around some of this ground and covering, but that's, usually I would be like, oh, how do I add a garden? How do I add pathways? How do I add this? But this is deserted. It is the loneliness to it that makes it so much more applicable and fulfills itself in this environment, this overgrown, depleted environment. Whereas usually you would need something else like adding onto this to make it feel like it belongs. It belongs in its abandon. And that is what makes it so beautiful in its own nature. Now, I absolutely adore the way this moss, specifically the moss carpets in Pale Moss, create that beautiful vining that just sits gorgeously with the cracked brick or just any brick in general. So I definitely feel like that really fulfills some of the energy. And honestly, it makes me think some vines might be a good idea, but let's get some more of this moss spread around first and see what happens. It definitely fulfills a lot of the need in this space to create a lovely, lovely energy that, once again, lets it rest in its abandon. It is such a simple concept without being excessive, without having to manicure, without having to worry about that thing. So it just brings in the abandon. Okay, so vines definitely, oh, are they that color? I like it. Okay, we go over that. But I do think that that does also add in more to this abandon. I wonder if I can make them, they'll grow on their own while I'm working on this stuff anyway, so we'll just add to it. But it definitely makes it feel like it's intensive and it's gonna grow, and bone meal doesn't work. Since when did bone meal not work on vines? Never mind. But it definitely adds to this. It definitely also breaks up the cracked stone brick. The cracked stone brick is such a consistent and upsetting pattern. I wish there was a little bit more randomization to its pattern, because it is the same always. I have the same feeling with a lot of the blocks. It's just the patterns are so predictable. Whereas grass is so nice because it has a slight alternation in its pattern. But this moss is definitely much more cohesive to this structure. It makes it feel much more like something's overgrown and taken over the pathways, etc. I definitely feel like this is going to be filling the need that we have for it without much of an issue. Now, in terms of everything else here, I think the tendrils reaching out and trying to get back into that portal, and how that's going to work is not something I'm going to be doing actively while recording, but I think that is something we're going to act onto and bring into life as I do more of this stuff in the After Effects. So give me a little bit to see what we can do with that. I'm also going to finish up some touch up here, and we're going to get that done. Alrighty, I think that I have gotten the view that I'm looking for here. This creates a lovely like follow line into it. I do feel like I could have probably done more in terms of like connecting it more to it, but I don't want it to be too much. But I did accidentally, in the process of building this, create a miniature parkour course that does in fact span pretty much all of this. So if you start here, you can actually hippity hoppity your way up onto the property via the magic absorption lines. I'm kind of happy with this. It is a little silly, but it, oh, I missed. You can make the jump, I swear. I did it earlier. But it is kind of fun to have accidentally, intentionally, somehow created a parkour course up into the building. Overall, though, I am very happy with how this came out. I really would love to honestly have this be like a full castle, and it's just starting to get corrupted or absorbed or whatever this is. But I really like how it's coming out, and I think overall it does a unique job in terms of using this block palette. But I do think in terms of its cohesiveness, it has the effectiveness of, if unaware, one of the best tools in terms of art creation is an asymmetry or an uneven balance. Sure, there's something beautiful to asymmetry or perfect balance in your designs, but there's also something nice to a heavy lopsided, because it balances, it's holding itself up, just like how I did here, where this side is much heavier and this side is much lighter and emptier. I did the same thing here with the portal to the structure. It is a very heavy one-sided, but it's being siphoned off into the unbalance, and it's quite nice in that formatting. I really enjoy it. I would also love to see even just this structure itself, using it as a actual base. Like, it's usable. The interior is a fully usable tower that provides plenty of space for just the basics in terms of what you can do here. But it would also be funny to design the interior in such a way that you are having your chest sucked out the window, or your enchanting table is being pulled off somehow like that. And it's just a unique and odd shape. I think overall it'd be kind of fun to live in this. But I do think next time I'm going to definitely challenge myself to go back to doing something a little smaller. Living small, not requiring myself to get so big, because my last couple builds have been much bigger than I initially had intended these builds to get to. Mind you, this is nothing compared to the obnoxiously large structure I'm working on my streaming series on Hypermine, but it does create quite the juxtaposition to the size of older builds I've done, such as these that are over here. These were a while ago, but they do exist. Tucked over here we have this, as I had mentioned earlier, seeing it off in the distance is this lovely hot air balloon thing, and then this cute little Victorian hut. And if you keep going further, there's a boat tucked just over there. This is a boat design I have used quite a lot. It's in my current Hypermind series. It was also from last season, so it's in both Season 8 and Season 9 of Hypermind, just different color palettes both times. But these lovely things, just in terms of size comparison, it's interesting how I've gone from these cute little normal sized houses to that thing. And when I say that thing, I mean that thing. Also, you can see where I accidentally goofed up and messed up some of my biome settings. I'll figure those out later. It's fine. But I do like how this came out, and I do want to keep experimenting with it. Now, if you have made it this far in the video, I need you to do me a huge, huge favor. Do you have a block palette? Please, 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 please comment it down below. And if you do so, also subscribe. I will keep continuing to do more things like this. I am enjoying this series. It's a good way to stretch my brain and encourage myself to be more creative with my things and the stuff I'm using. Additionally, we have a hardcore series as well as a new series I'm working on that's a modded series with the Reclamation mod pack. If you haven't seen it, it's a super cool mod pack where you are renewing the earth from a desolate format via a whole bunch of different mods that work together to give you the supplies to fix the earth and bring back the nature. So that is also a series we are currently working on to get up onto the YouTube channel. So if you want to see those things, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. I would be happy, happy, happy to continue all of these series as I'm having a lot of fun with them. But on that note, I do believe this is all. So please remember to be creative, stretch your muscles, and have a lovely rest of your day. Stay hydrated, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye now.